Welcome to the Thrive, Make Money Matter podcast. I am your host, Cole Hatter. On this podcast, I will share the best lessons delivered at the Thrive Conference live from speakers who happen to be 40 of the top business leaders and thought leaders in the world. If you are unfamiliar with my event, it was voted the #1 must-attend business conference for entrepreneurs and career professionals by several publications, including Inc., Entrepreneur, and Forbes. The episodes are quick, high-content, actionable steps to show you how to thrive in business and in life. If you're ready to go to the next level, this podcast was made for you. Enjoy. What's up, everybody? It's Cole. Welcome back to another episode of the Thrive, Make Money Matter podcast. In this episode, we're going to listen to my buddy Gary Vee. This was actually a question that he was asked at our VIP dinner. Gary spoke at Thrive 1 for an hour on stage. Then a couple of other speakers went. We took a 1-hour break. And then for our VIP and Inner Circle attendees, they get a private full course, actually I think it's a 4-course meal. And at the end of eating, he set up a couple of microphones on each side of the stage and people just lined up and asked Gary Vee, like his show, live. And so the question that was just asked is, Gary, what is the one lesson you would teach your children, right? Of all the things that you preach. And if any of you are fans of Gary Vaynerchuk, you know there's no shortage of content out there of Gary rants, of speaking into what he believes in, what he's passionate about. So the question was, Gary, if there's one thing you could leave your children or one thing that you would teach your own children, what would it be? And this was his answer.
What would I leave them with?
Yeah, what would you leave with them?
I mean, it sucks that I already talked about it earlier, but 100%, if I never saw my kids again, I would tell them that legacy is greater than currency.
Yeah.
I believe in that so much. It is definitely my North Star.
Right.
That, like, who you are will trump. And look, maybe easy for me to say because I've always been able to make money, and I respect that and I have empathy for it. It's just what I believe. I don't know what else to tell you. By the way, my kids are very intriguing to me. So you might find this interesting. I heavily disrespect my kids right now. Yeah, because they're rich kids.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I have huge animosity towards my children right now. And I've been saying it on the Ask Gary Vee show a lot and publicly. Like, I'm really excited to see what they think when they watch this in 5 years. Like this video. Hey, Misha, Xander, you. so, and here's why I disrespect them. I don't think they can be as hungry as me. Yeah. And so I'm fascinated because this only goes one of two ways when dad or mom is successful. They look at you and they have your DNA and they're like, no, you, Gary, I'm gonna climb that mountain and be bigger than you. Or they're like, that mountain, I'm going to give away all of his money, or I'm an artist or something, right? The funny thing is, for me, no joke, and this has been interesting for me, I really don't care. I don't want my kids to be entrepreneurs. I just want them to be all in on who they naturally are. And as long as they're that, I'm good. As long as they're really pumped about something, like, I don't need them to be anything they're not. And so when I say legacy is greater than currency, it doesn't mean that you have to be the greatest. You just have to be fully all you. The one prerequisite I have for them is they have to be good people. The one thing that I think people are confused by is this. People always talk about if you get rich or fame or something like that, you change. You don't change. Money and notoriety only accelerates who you actually are.
All the time.
I believe in that.
All money is a magnifying glass.
It's just a magnifying glass.
That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow morning, everybody.
I get so pissed when people are like, oh, Gary, you're so nice. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to be? Like, right? Like I get credit for shit that's normal. You know? Like, oh, you took a minute to take a selfie. Of course, I'm fucking blown away that you want to take a selfie with me. I'm pumped. Take them all. So anyway, that's what I would leave them with. Be kind, because if you're not, I'll kill you. And then two, legacy is greater than currency.
So, a couple of takeaways that I got from that episode. Number one, legacy is greater than currency. That is something, again, if you're a fan of Gary Vee's, that is something you have heard a lot. But what exactly does that mean? Legacy is what we leave behind. It's what people talk about. At your and my funerals, no one's going to talk about our currency. No one's going to talk about our cars. No one's going to talk about our houses. No one's going to talk about the things that we bought. They're only going to talk about our legacy, which to me is the meaningful impact and difference we made in their lives with the time and resources we had available to us at the time. And so Gary and I see eye to eye. Gary and I disagree on some things. We see eye to eye on other things. And this is something where I couldn't agree more strongly with Gary. that legacy is greater than currency. It's not how you make your money that matters, it's what you do with it. It's the type of person you are. And so that's the first thing to really think about. The way that I govern myself personally is I have 11 truths, or 11 absolute truths. And as an entrepreneur, a somewhat public entrepreneur, I get bombarded with people asking me to invest in their ideas, their businesses. I used to literally have a tab on my website that says pitch me. And so people would pitch me on ideas, and it was overwhelming. And to know what I should and shouldn't do, I set 11 absolute truths with my wife that said no matter how juicy the opportunity, how much money or whatever the upside is, it must fall in alignment with these 11 truths. I'll give you 2 examples. One example of my absolute truths is I have to be able to make my money from anywhere in the world. I will never say yes to an opportunity, regardless of the uptake, regardless of the income, regardless of the upside, if I have to physically be at a desk somewhere. Now, I don't mind if I have to be there temporarily. Like if you hired me to speak, I'm a professional speaker, I'm fine flying in, speaking, and flying back home. But if it required me and my family to relocate permanently somewhere, I would not do it, doesn't matter how much money there is. So that is an absolute truth. I must have complete autonomy and be able to live anywhere. The second absolute truth is I must be able to make my wife and daughters proud with how I'm making money. And so I was recently pitched on funding the startup of an app, where the point of the app was to have people use geo-positioning to find other members of the app to hook up. This isn't a dating app. This is a straight up, hey, let's get naked app, right? And unfortunately, with the way our culture is, that's probably something that would do very well financially. And if I invested in it, probably would have made some money. It's also an app, as a father of 2 beautiful little girls, I would hope to God they never found. And let's just say it blew up and I turned my investment into $100 million. And as my daughters grew, they say, hey, Daddy, where did the money come from? I don't want to say, oh, Daddy created an app for people to have affairs and all that stuff. So the point is, I'm not here to judge people of what they do with their spare time. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. But I didn't want to put my hard-earned money into an app that did that because I don't feel that my daughters and wife would be proud of something like that. So those are 2 examples of absolute truths. And by creating my absolute truths, that allows me to participate in opportunities that are more about legacy, less about currency. The other big takeaway I got from what Gary Vaynerchuk just shared is talking about his own children. Now, if you haven't heard of Gary before this episode, you might have even been a little bit offended the way that he talks. That's Gary. He's in your face. He's loud. It's his brand. And so for the sake of your ears, we did edit out the profanity, but still the content is he would tell his kids, F you, right? And so it was a joke. We were laughing. And in context, it wasn't terrible. But what Gary is saying is he immigrated here, right? And with that immigrant mindset, came here with 2 parents who had no money, didn't speak the language, and Gary had to grind it out. And he is convinced the part of where his hustle comes from was his survivalist mentality. That immigrating to a country that he didn't know, with parents that didn't know the country, and a language they didn't speak, they had to fight tooth and nail for every dollar they've earned. Now he has 2 children that were born into a multi-millionaire's household here in America and have everything handed to them on a silver spoon. And so Gary loves to make a point by going way beyond and hammering it in, which is a fantastic strategy, and it's what he does. But what he's really saying is he feels bad for his kids in the sense that they're not going to have that survivalist mentality that he came from, to where you've literally got to fight tooth and nail for every dollar you earn because they're growing up in an environment where everything's provided for them. Gary did not grow up in that environment. Now, I'm on the opposite of the spectrum. I was born here in Orange County, California, to a middle-class family. I wasn't born, my parents weren't flying around in private jets. I wasn't born to a Gary Vaynerchuk, but I did have everything I would ever need. Again, being born in America. If you ask Warren Buffett what his greatest attributes to his success are, he says, number 1, that I was born in America. Number 2, that I've had good genes and have been healthy. And number 3, compound interest, which is maybe something we can save for another episode. But that first part, being born in America, I was not only just born in America, I was born in Orange County, California, which is one of the wealthiest parts of the entire world. So middle class here, comparatively, I was in the wealthiest 1% in a global standard, right? When you're looking at the whole world. So based on what Gary just shared, I don't have that natural burn desire and drive that maybe he had. And I can totally agree with that. Yet I was personally able to find the motivation to go out there and become a multimillionaire myself. So if you're watching this and you're like, okay, I get what Gary's saying, but crap, I didn't pick who I was born to. I was born in Dallas, Texas to millionaire parents. Can I succeed too? I think there is a competitive edge of coming from that mindset and that immigrant mentality that Gary Vaynerchuk has. However, without that mindset, being born and raised here in Orange County, California, I've been able to go off and make millions too. So I think it's whatever it takes to get that burning desire in your gut. For those of you who have immigrated here, maybe you have an advantage for those of us that were born into the opportunities we had. But you could flip that and say, for those of us that were born in these opportunities, what Gary had to grind and learn on his own is just available to us in public knowledge through podcasts like this. So wrapping up this episode, what are the 2 big takeaways? Number 1, legacy is greater than currency. Don't sell out. Don't chase dollars, chase meaning. Chase doing something that's impactful. Chase doing something that actually matters, and the money will come. And number 2, if you don't have a burning desire, if you have a mindset where you think things should just be handed to you, where you were born into either a wealthy family or, like me, non-wealthy family, but opportunities everywhere, endless opportunities, we have to find that motivation that Gary had to just out of surviving, right? We've got to dig deep inside and find that meaning. And a good book recommendation for you is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. That might be a good reason for you to, or a good thing for you to do, to read that book, to find out not what it is you do, but why you want to do it, to find that burning desire. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe on iTunes. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching the video. We've got more content like this coming your way. Again, these bite-sized thoughts to improve your life and your business immediately. Take care.